Do.
Richard! Richard, help!
Sean,
Yeah, it's me!
why are you in a sewer?
I was looking for the turtles.
You were as pathetic as you are sad. Now listen to this, because it's a Pod Bros exclusive. I'll go get a ladder. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard,
And I'm Sean.
and we're speaking the language of romance. Sean,
Yes, Richard.
so I was wading my way through the internet, and I found this story. It's a very short story, but I feel like it's something that I would love to do, especially given the current political climate. You know, they're talking about building a wall on the border. So I think it would make this job even more fun. I mean, I call it a job. It sounds to me more like a calling.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna dive right into the story. Okay, Mexico's National Security Commission announced over the weekend that federal police officers found a panel van kitted out with an air compressor and a metal tube nearly 10 feet long. They believe this was used as a bazooka blast packets of narcotics across the border into the United States.
Nice. So this is very topical right now.
Exactly. Also, basically what I'm thinking is like, you go to like the basketball game and the guy has the t-shirt cannon.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So this is like that, but it's Mary Jane. It's a Mary Jane cannon.
So there's like a college group, like Rave going on the other side. And they're all like, woo, shoot over here.
Yeah.
Andale.
I want a brick. Badoosh, badoosh, badoosh.
You just don't want to be the guy to catch it because it actually kills you, but then all the other people, like, it's kind of like a piñata. It busts when it hits the person and kills them. Everybody runs over grabbing joints.
Why'd you have to go directly to piñata? I feel that's racist. I feel you're being racist.
What? You have those at parties.
What was the last party you had that you were like, oh, get the piñata out?
Not me personally, but I've been to a party within the last 5 months where there was a piñata. It was a kid's party, but that's beside the point. And those are like, have you ever been to a party where there's a piñata, like a kid's party?
No.
I guarantee you at least 4 or 5 of those kids are going to end up getting smacked in the head and crying before the night's over.
Yeah, I believe it. Because you blindfold a kid, you're giving them a stick. I mean, what do you think's going to happen?
Well, and they whack it and like 2 pieces of candy fall. So then like 5 kids jump on that candy, but the kid swinging doesn't realize it. Takes another whack, hits a kid in the head. Yeah, it's a fun time. And then the parents get mad at you. It's like, I'm trying to get the piñata open because I want some candy. Keep little Timmy out of the way.
Yeah, he'll be fine. So what? He can't do math. I'm telling you right now, he wasn't planning on being a rocket scientist anyway.
So they just found the van. They didn't find like the actual people in the van.
Well, okay, we're just into the first paragraph. I didn't.
Oh,
think,
okay.
So we still have a bit to go. Okay, the van has a cut in the roof toward the back. The commission's press release on the discovery states to allow the tube to be used to launch projectiles, possibly from close to the border into the United States. The van was found abandoned on Saturday in the town of Agua Prieta, Sonora.
Which stands for Town of Piñatas.
Whatever, it's town of t-shirt cannons. That's probably where they make them.
Yeah.
That's probably what happened. Like, there's a t-shirt cannon factory in Mexico because everything's made in Mexico. So there's this guy that's like there checking out the t-shirt. Like, he's the guy that tests out the t-shirt cannons.
Uh-huh.
So he's standing there in the testing field, and they're loading t-shirts into the cannon, and he's shooting them off. And then at one point, they don't drug test there because it's a pretty lax factory. And so he's sitting there and he's smoking some weed. And he's like, man, if I could figure out, I got a bunch of drugs. If I could figure out how to get them into the U.S.
I've got a surplus of marijuana I need to get rid of.
Right? And I have Like my problem is, I'm not a drug cartel boss. Like I can't dig a tunnel that's 8 miles long.
I can't get the van that has all the hidden compartments and get it across the border.
Like I'm not that smart. I don't have that kind of money. I got to think of something. Got to be ingenious with it. Hey, Jorge, can I test out your t-shirt cannon? Yeah, go ahead. I'm on a break. Kadoosh, kadoosh. If I could only find a. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
He gets on the phone, calls his cousin Greg in the States.
Yeah.
I've got a money idea for us, Greg. This is what we're going to do. You're going to be on one side of the wall. I'm going to be on the other. And I'm going to shoot you over some drugs.
Right.
Well, how are you going to do that? He says, turn to ESPN right now.
It's the halftime show.
Yeah. Watch. Doof. Oh, did you see that guy get pegged in the head with that shirt cannon? Yeah. What am I supposed to be looking at, Jorge? What's the dude's in Mexico's name? Jorge was his coworker.
Oh, okay. Juan.
Juan?
Yeah.
So he's like, what am I looking for, Juan? He's like, well, so he shot a shirt, right? Yeah. Well, what if he shot something else? Like what? Like marijuana.
Holy shit. And the best part is it's future proof because in the unlikely event that Donald Trump is elected and he builds this retarded ass wall, then we can still get drugs over to the other side.
Well, your t-shirt cannon won't work, will it? No, we'll just build a bigger cannon. We'll build a grande cannon.
Cannon El Grande.
Poof. You just hear, so he has this big ass cannon. And
there's a guy just standing there in the Arizona, because this place is on the other side of the border here is Douglas, Arizona. So there's a guy just like, just kind of, hanging out. Like let's say he owns a house out in the desert and he's on like a crisp walk, trying to get, just on a walk through the desert at night, like you do.
Oh, it's nice and cool. Yeah.
Right. And so then off in the distance, he just hears, what the hell?
Poof! He just gets showered with green all over his face.
And he's like, oh my, Santa got my letter.
This is good shit.
It's from Mexico. How the hell did it get over here?
Border Patrol comes up like, what is that? It's like, it's for my grandma's glaucoma.
It fell from the sky, I swear. Fell from the sky. Not buying that this time, Doug. The van was found, blah, 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 across from Douglas, Arizona. It had no license plates, and according to the commission, it had been reported stolen in Hermosillo.
Who reported it stored? A guy named Juan who worked at a t-shirt cannon factory.
Some 220 miles south of the town on July 1st. So the van was reported stolen on July 1st, and then it was found later 220 miles north at the border. Whether hidden in cargo, carted in tunnels, via drug mules, catapulted, or carried by drones, illicit drugs are smuggled into the U.S. through a dizzying array of means.
Could you imagine being the drone warrior to get the drugs and bring it over to America?
Well, that'd be kind of fun, because that'd just be like, like guys used to fly those remote control planes. Yeah. Like they just load up a drone and he's just sitting there like in the middle of the desert, just pew, 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 pew. Why are you making those noises?
Well, I'm playing Star Wars.
Yeah, it adds to it. It adds effect.
And then all of a sudden it gets shot down by the Border Patrol's drones with rockets.
Or the Border Patrol has their own t-shirt cannons.
It's they just fire it back and forth. No, keep the drugs out. Stuff it in there like a cannon. Fire in the hole. That seemed a lot lighter than the load that we found. Yeah, I don't know what happened with those other drugs.
It's a mystery. I think must have forgotten to clean it all up.
Did you measure it in kilo or pounds? Because that could have been what it was.
That's exactly what happened. That's
goddamn metric system.
Yeah, communist metric system.
Are you high right now? Yes. I mean, yes.
Damn it.
Trick question. Give me a multiple choice.
Give me that cannon.
He climbs into it. It's like, Marno! Mexico, here I come. Woo!
Goodbye, extradition.
Talk about being high.
Oh, no.
Well, you're high at the time. That's what you say.
No, I get it. Yeah, double entendre.
Because you get shot, you're high.
Oh, wow.
I've never done drugs, Richard.
It shows. It really shows.
I've never smoked your marijuana.
Authorities believe the traffickers have been using homemade cannons since as early as 2012. When did we start launching T-shirts into basketball crowds? Did we get the idea of T-shirt cannons from people launching drugs into like what came first? Was it the drug
T-shirt
cannon?
Because those have been around for years. Like I know my first baseball game I ever went to in like 2004. They had those. It's funny because the ballpark I used to go to quite a bit, they had a hot dog cannon, and so the mascot would come out with this hot dog cannon.
That sounds terrible. That sounds like a bad idea on so many levels.
Well, it's like free hot dog, thunk, thunk, and he shoots it in the air. You catch, like 10 people are trying to get it, so there's like 15 people's hands on it.
Yeah,
they squish it, and it's probably disgusting.
And also, like, what if if nobody catches it?
Well, then some little kid finds it and eats it. That's probably what happens.
Oh my god! And it's a hot dog to boot, so you're already shooting yourself in the fucking foot.
Well, and they're cheap hot dogs too. They're like the dollar hot dogs you get on their dollar nights.
Yeah, where doesn't say beef; it just says meat.
Yeah, byproduct.
Yeah, what's it made out of? Meat.
There'd be times where they'd shoot it and the wrapper would come off, so the wrapper would go one way, the bun the other, and the hot dog somewhere way up. So somebody was catching that.
Bet it was girls. Did they catch it in their mouth?
No, kind of close. Kind of missed by a few inches. So there was they stopped doing it because they got sued because one time when they shot this hot dog, it hit a woman in the eye.
Oh yeah, like that's never happened to her before.
Yeah, first time, yeah. I want the just like prom night. Well, at least that's how my prom was.
Oh,
and I was by myself.
See what? Hey, you made it. So
balls resting on my chin.
Well, there isn't much more to the story. Oh, according to Business Insider, packets of crystal meth, cocaine, and marijuana that might have been fired from them have been found on the U.S. side of the border. What's the distance on a T-shirt cannon? Like, how close do you think these guys are to the border to launch like a brick of marijuana? Allegedly, or so I've read in books. A brick of marijuana, it's about like 8 inches by about like 3 or 4 inches.
It's got to be a pound or two, right?
Yeah, roughly a pound.
When you think like a T-shirt weighs like a couple, like not even maybe a fourth of a pound, and those they can shoot probably like 50 or 60 rows deep, but they kind of angle it so it goes up and down.
Well, yeah, that's what I would think they would do.
I mean, this is just a glorified cannon, and instead of using a ball, they're using like the marijuana because they'd have to because even you wouldn't just shoot like a brick of it. You'd probably wrap it in something and make it even way more.
Right. Like a cannonball. You'd have to, and also I think the thing that we need to marvel at here is the accuracy of this thing, because if they're coming to the conclusion like, hey, if we shove a bunch of drugs into this air cannon, fire it, like we have to make sure we're accurate with it so that way the goes to the right person that catches it.
Well, that's probably why they find a lot of them, because they probably shoot a ton of them over, and they probably have like a good mile or two radius that they can find it. It's like, okay, well, it's going to be at least 75 feet from the border, and then it could be anywhere between, well, actually, it's probably the distance that would be the worst. It's like, okay, it's going to be within this, quarter of a mile, because we shot it from here, so you can probably be somewhere in this range. But the distance from the wall could be 75 feet. It could be, half a mile, we don't know, because that would be the part that'd be more
Yeah,
inaccurate.
because I think that's what I think that requires. That's a feat of engineering. Because okay, so Sean, let's say I'm in Mexico and you're in the U.S. So here's what we would do. So I would need to figure out what the range on my cannon is, and like on average, like if I set the cannon at a 60-degree angle, then it's gonna shoot it's going to shoot my marijuana cannonball. It's going to shoot it, half a mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then I call you and I tell you to meet me in the desert. So let's say you're out in the desert and you have a flashlight. So you shine your little flashlight, and then I shine my little flashlight, so that way you can see where we are relative to each other, because it's the desert and it's dark.
Well, maybe that's why they do it. They flash a light. Maybe that's how it works.
Well, that was my thinking.
Okay. Or they put like glow sticks in it.
So they have like a rave?
Yeah.
What is it with you and raves?
I've never been to a rave. I really want to go. I keep asking you to bring me to a rave and you never do. Because you always call me. You're like, hey. I'm like, where you at? You're like, I can't hear you. And all I hear in the background is unks, 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 unks. And you always have a different rave name. So somebody calls out your rave name and you're like, oh, just a second. I'm talking to some dude. I'm like, some dude? I had to go by. Click.
Are we doing this podcast thing or not? I gotta go.
Who is that? You always forget to hang up too. Like, who is that? It's like some jerk. He's a loser.
Yeah.
I don't even like the guy.
I don't think he's ever even been to a rave.
Aw.
And he doesn't do drugs.
I'm like, well, I kind of been to a rave right now, and I pop Skittles. Oh, I'm so high on sugar.
Just rub them on your face. I'm colorful.
Well, you could also they could put cell phones in there, and you could use GPS that way. Find my lost iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
So that might be a good way to do it.
See, now you're thinking.
But I don't know. It just depends on, because I'm sure. Like, I don't know the logistics or the margin on marijuana, but I would imagine that they're probably, like, I don't know, like, if you lost a brick, like, is that like, meh, that's nothing. So maybe that's more of a quantity over quality.
Well, I think it depends on how much you have. Like, if you have 30 pounds, then a pound, means quite a bit. But if you have 300 pounds, then a pound might just be, profit, cost of doing business.
Yeah, that's always what's interesting. Like, I watched the Sons of Anarchy TV show, and it's really like, it is a big business. Like, it's a violent business, but it's a business.
It very much is a business. And like, if you don't think it is, go to two places. Number one, go to Colorado. If you don't think it's a business, I think it's projected. Marijuana business is projected to cross the $4 billion threshold in like 5 years.
How's that compared to like alcohol and like cigarette sales? Is it more? Or?
I don't know, but it's a lot of business magazines and whatever they're calling it. Ironically, they're calling it a growth industry.
A growth industry? No, that makes sense.
The other place, Northern California.
Isn't that like supposed to be like the wine capital? It
is. It's
the comparable.
They call it the Emerald Triangle because the soil's so good, the average temperature, like everything, it's turned into like the Napa Valley, which Napa Valley's up there too. But yeah, everybody grows all sorts of crazy shit. And it's funny because you can go there and you see like everybody driving like $30,000 trucks, but nobody has a job.
Yeah, because they make cash working there.
Yeah, they all make cash.
I always kind of try to figure out how that works because you walk into a car dealership and you drop $30,000 in cash for a vehicle. Like, you'd think somebody asked questions.
No,
but
money talks.
Yeah,
bullshit walks.
Oh, here's $30,000, but you really sold this to me for $10,000. Yeah, I did. I really did sell you this for $10,000. You did a good job talking me down.
Plus, they could take that $30,000, go get it. Like, number one, they don't have to, since they're using cash, it's a lot more fluid when it comes to reporting things. No paper trail. things like that.
Yeah, but I just think this day and age, like you couldn't walk into a bank and drop 30 grand in there without it showing up on taxes somewhere. So if you were doing
Exactly.
something illegal, that'd be probably a red flag.
Unless you weren't filing taxes.
Yeah, I guess that's how all of them get caught in the end. They don't really do time for the illegal activities. They do time for not paying taxes.
It's all tax evasion. Al Capone was tax evasion.
Yeah. We can't prove that you killed 700 people, Al Capone, but you didn't pay your taxes for 10 years.
Exactly.
Alcatraz, you go.
But it's amazing the amount of business and money that just like flows through when it comes to drug trade. Which honestly, that's why I find like the quote war on drugs, and like I find the whole thing so laughable because of the industry that's created around it. We did prohibition in the 20s, and the bootlegging business was one of the most lucrative businesses you could have in the 20s. Al Capone.
Yeah, that's how he made his money.
Yeah, it was all bootlegging.
It's I can't remember what the movie was called. It had Tom Hardy in it, Bane. It was based off the book The Driest County in Alabama or Kentucky or Carolina, something like that. It's basically these farm kids. Prohibition went into effect, and they're like, well, like people still want this. And there's not really a lot of people like basically putting any kind of law enforcement in it. So we're going to moonshine and sell it to people locally. And, that's how they made their living. And they were super violent during this 10-year or 5-year period, however long it was, because that's just what happened. And it's crazy because, spoilers, but in the end of the movie, it's like, oh, well, prohibition's gone now, so we're just going to take our money and live our lives happily, even though, we killed 50 people because of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But like I said, I think, when you create prohibition on alcohol or on things like marijuana, like that's what you get.
Yeah, there's still a market for it.
Yeah.
Be like if they outlawed like cigarettes, or they did try to do a prohibition type thing again.
Or you load it all into a cannon and shoot across the border.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do that with booze, though.
Oh, God, no. Imagine getting hit in the head with a whiskey bottle fired from a mile half away.
Thunk.
Did you get it? Doug? Oh, he's dead.
Doug, drink this. He can't drink it. He's already drunk. More for me. Gulp, 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 gulp. I love whiskey. Yes, I do. I used to love Dog, but now he's gone too.
So, that's okay. So I said it was going to be a quick thing, but I guess it wasn't that quick a thing.
Well, do you have anything to tie into that? You said they were shooting meth, they were shooting, cocaine, they're shooting a lot of other stuff. Do you have any stories about people who may have been using that?
I do. I have. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the other. This is the one I did want to talk about, but I saw that other one and I felt like I should mention it because the thought of a bunch of people loading drugs into an air cannon and shooting it across the border, like that sounded funny to me, like a t-shirt cannon. All right, so here we go. This is the story I really wanted to talk about. Like, just like with the last one, not going to read the headline. I'm just going to dive right in. At least 5 winning racehorses have been disqualified from races at Lone Star Park in Grand Prairie this year. Why do you think, Sean? Do you think they cheated? Did the jockeys cheat? They did. They did cheat. Well,
the very little bit I know about horse racing is there are some states that actually allow horses to be injected with steroids. So you can have horses that get injected with steroids and race. So maybe this state didn't allow steroids in their horses. So these were roided up horses.
Oh, roided up horses. You're close. You're close. After testing positive for trace amounts of meth, according to Texas Racing Commission officials. So, not steroids. They tested for meth. They got a positive. So there's methed up horses running for their lives.
So have you ever heard like horses' names? Like there's like Pinehurst. There's like really weird names.
Seabiscuit. That's the only one I know.
There was one horse, I can't remember what he named it, but it basically was like the initials of his wife. It was like stupid SOB. Somehow it was like somewhere in there. So we'd like have the LOB horse, the lob horse. We'll call him the lob hoe, the lob whore, the LOB
Lob
whore.
ho. That's what we said before we shoot drugs out of a cannon. Lob ho.
So we named our methed up horse Lob Ho. Lob Ho comes around the corner and falls to the ground and starts scratching at his head. Oh my God, what's going on? They always say never look a gift horse in the mouth, never look a gift horse in the mouth, but that horse has no teeth, so I have no idea what's going on there.
I'm not want to look that gift horse in the mouth, I'll tell you that right now.
Coming out of the corner, he stops and he pulls out a spoon. What's he doing with that? Oh God, kids, look away. Look away.
The horses tested positive for methamphetamine during a thoroughbred race meet held April 7th through July 17th. During that time, the commission also reported 7 human drug violations, and officials believe the horses may have been contaminated by their handlers known as grooms. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that their handlers were called grooms.
So basically, like the groom is like in there petting the horse. It's like, man, nobody's around here. I'm dragging a little bit. I'm going to do me a little snuff of meth right now. Because that's always a good idea, right?
Yeah.
I want this concoction made of batteries and some kind of pills.
Like, I'm going to snort this real quick. So he goes behind the horse and he goes to sniff it. The horse kicks him. The guy goes flying away because, nobody wants, he got kicked by a horse, and that's not pleasant. So then the horse turns around. Guy dropped his meth. The horse is like, hey, what's this? Sniff, sniff, sniff. Guess what? Now we have a meth horse.
Oh, now I'm high. I'm so fucked up right now.
Maybe that's what Mr. Ed. It wasn't peanut butter with Mr. Ed. It wasn't peanut butter on the roof of his mouth. They just methed him up.
Lavo's like, I've never had sex with a man before. Oh, bend over, groomer.
They're sitting there in the casting room. Like, now look, guys, if anybody asks, we gave the horse peanut butter. That's why he looked like he talked. It's not a tick from the meth that we're shoving down his nose.
Show business is so rough. Did you ever watch Mr. Ed?
A little bit.
I might have saw like a couple of, because it took place on like one set, right? That's all it took place on?
I think so. A horse is a horse, a horse, a horse. Something with a horse.
Methed up horse is a horse, of course.
Unless, of course, that methed up horse is the famous Mr. Ed. It was on around the same time as Green Acres, I think. Green Acres was in color. Mr. Ed was black and white. Okay, so Mr. Ed was a talking horse. So a show about a talking horse. Now I can't look stuff up in front of me. But okay, so the show Mr. Ed easily had 50 million viewers.
Yeah, I mean it was probably one of the bigger shows of that time, right?
Yeah, it was
6 seasons, 143 episodes.
6 seasons of a talking horse.
Yeah. It went from January 5th of 61 all the way to February 6th of 66. 666. Mr. Ed was the
leader of the Illuminati.
Yeah, he was Mr. Dead. He was the horse of Satan. Satan!
Satan horse! Satan ride upon your steed! That's Mr. Ed. So, but okay. But I guess the point I was making is, so Mr. Ed had, 50 million viewers or 60, or who the fuck knows? I have no idea. But their audience was easily in the tens of millions. And
yeah, I'd say so.
It was a show about a talking horse. Now you take a show like Game of Thrones, okay? And they average an audience of about maybe 5 to 8 million people. Yeah. And it's considered one of the best shows on television. But they do 1/5 of the audience of a talking horse.
Well, you think of the cost too. Like Game of Thrones probably cost easily like 1,000 times more than what the Mr. Ed show cost, right?
Right, because all you got with Mr. Ed, you build the barn. You have
Which
the
he's already
guy
there.
there.
He's already in a barn.
Yeah, you get the horse. You get some crystal meth.
Yeah. And I mean, the best thing about it too is so after 6 years when the show gets canceled, you send Mr. Ed to the glue factory and you basically paid for the 6 seasons.
And destroy your evidence that you
Yeah.
methed up a horse.
Oh shit, so this is what happened. So they made glue out of Mr. Ed and kids were sniffing that glue and basically got second hand high off of the meth.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's why kids started sniffing glue. It was all Mr. Ed's fault.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't a family show.
No.
Mr.
it wasn't.
Ed was like the original drug dealer.
This is the dark side of Mr. Ed right here. I didn't know there could be one, but lo and behold, we found it.
True Hollywood Stories brings you the true story of Mr. Ed.
You just now picturing a horse in like a nightclub, like.
I'm fucked up right now. Get those bitches over here.
How many rocks do you want? 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Ed was living high in the 60s, and by high we mean stoned.
Texas Racing Commission issued rulings to the owners of the 5 horses, and we have the horses' names. Okay, so one is Cape Catechus.
Sounds like a stripper name.
Yeah, a little bit. Majestic Holiday, also a stripper name.
No, that's more of a porn star name there.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's about the cat.
That's an old lady horse.
It is an old. Cheval de Montague, or Cheval de Montaigne.
That sounds like a French dictator.
Okay, here you want to talk about a porn name? Here we go. And Gospel Teresa.
Oh, that just is dirty and inappropriate on so many levels.
Yeah, tested. Yeah, Gospel Teresa. Apparently, been dipping into the. It's not just oats in that bag.
Could you? So I wonder if so. Does it? Okay, continue. Does it say like they gave him this because they wanted to give him a advantage, or was it basically like animal abuse where they wanted to get these animals high?
I'm not sure. The retroactively disqualified the horses from the races and ordered the purse to be redistributed to their competitors in the affected races.
And they used it for booze and hookers.
Like respectable people.
This is horse racing, god damn it. We only get high on cocaine and hookers. High class hookers.
How many hookers do you want? It's counting with its foot.
Mr. Ed wants 2 hookers.
Texas Racing Commission officials issued the rulings August 17th. They took no further action against the owners of the contaminated horses. So they're contaminated horses now.
They had to go to rehab so they could become normal horses again. Say I gotta go to rehab. My groomer said no.
So the horse is on the bed. And the doctor walks in and be like, what you doing, Mr. Ed? No, nothing.
What's with the long face, Mr. Ed? I get it because you're a horse, you stupid animal.
That's why you're in here. And the horse is like, no, I was just hanging out. And they're like, search the bed. No. And then Mr. Ed's like, you're fucking Nazis, man. You're fucking Nazis.
Is this meth? Is this a hooker? How'd you get a hooker in here? When you're Mr. Ed, there's ways.
Hang on, I'm going bareback.
Talk to the hooker. You're like, how can you live with yourself after that? Look at that thing.
And that's how bestiality got started.
Mr. Ed in the 60s going to clubs. There's a couple girls dancing, and Mr. Ed walks in, like, I'd fuck it. You fuck Mr. Ed? Look at that thing. He's on the dance floor getting all excited just to see. So I got a good horse story for you, Richard, to kind of tie in with horse penis.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
So when I was in high school, we went to the Kentucky Derby, right, for our band. And so the day or two before the Derby, we got to walk around the Churchill Downs, and they got a bunch of horses out there. And so there's like 2 horses outside hanging out, and we're standing there like 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, all extremely perverted and dirty-minded, right? Because all kids are at that age most kids are, at least I was.
Then they grow up to be adults and do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But it's more acceptable because it's like, don't talk like that. You want to talk more like an adult. It's like, well, have you listened to adults talk? It's like 10 times worse.
We're talking about methed up horse fucking hookers.
Somehow we've made Mr. Head into like the porn star of the 60s. But so we're staying out there and there's this male horse walking around. And so this guy's talking about Churchill Downs, like how they take care of the horses. And like the horse is like presenting himself to us. Like he's like vertical to us.
Okay.
And all of a sudden you just slowly start seeing his junk just getting longer and longer. And everybody's trying not to laugh. And like you think it's done. Like you see a little nub, you're like, okay, that's a big penis. And then a little more comes out, you're like, good God. And then more and more and more. It's like 2 inches from the ground. And like you're looking around at these girls, and some guys, I was probably one of them, like just kind of licking their lips. All like, that's what a man looks like. That's what a man looks like right there. It's funny because, like, animals can do that. An animal can get a boner right in front of people, and it's funny, and it's whatever. But yeah, that was my horse story.
Robert Elrod, Public Information Officer for the Texas Racing Commission, said in addition to the 5 winning horses, one horse that placed second in a race on April 23rd, USA Destroyer, was also disqualified.
USA Destroyer? That was his name?
Yeah, his name was USA Destroyer.
That's an awful name.
It is an awful name. It's also awful that apparently even on Meth, he only placed second.
Yeah. Well, maybe what happened is the other horse knew that, so he tied a baggie around his tail. And so the horse was like just sniffing at his ass, trying to get another hit. That's probably what it was.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
I'll suck your dick for that.
I'll suck that horse dick. I'll suck your horse cock.
Well, probably, what happened is USA Defender, what he did in his free time is he ran that border of Mexico looking for his next hit.
Elrod said there was no way to determine whether trace amounts of methamphetamine affected the horses during races, but it is possible. Chuck Trout, the commission's executive director, said the drug...
That dude just sounds sleazy.
Chuck Trout.
Hi, I'm Chuck Trout, and I run the horse racing here at...
He's the dealer. That's what happened.
I don't know. What was the horse track name?
Lone Star Park.
Oh, that's a front for something. Welcome to Lone Star Park. Are you here for the horse racing?
It's the plot of Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Are you here for the horse racing or the wink wink horse racing? I'm here for the horse racing.
You mean you want meth? I don't
Listen, there's 2 things that happen. There's 3 things that happen here. Semi horse racing, meth dealing, and horse fucking. Which one do you want?
Not the third one. Not the third one. Many of the teams that competed in Grand Prairie had also competed at Sam Houston Race Park in Houston from January to March, but no horses tested positive for meth during that meet. Here's my thing. How do we think to test the horses for meth? Or do you think it was just like a general drug screen?
Well, I think they do because horse racing is probably I've heard is probably like one of the most corrupt things out there because you have the high level, Churchill Downs, the Triple Crown races where,
right.
You have, multi-million-dollar horses racing these things, right? These are horses that when they win, they sell their seed for like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because that's how you make your money in horse racing. If you have a horse that wins any of those big races, if it's a male, you basically just put him in the pasture, have somebody go out there and tug him out like 12 times a day, and you sell that shit to people.
Yeah. Like
rich people buy that. It's like, I want a Derby-winning horse offspring.
Right.
And they pay tons of money for it.
Yeah.
I try to tell people that's like, listen, I should sell my seed because it's worth a lot of money.
Right.
And you just get weird looks.
Yeah, and you're like, I beat my neighbor in a foot race. So
yeah, and And I've got an award-winning podcast. I've got over 100 episodes. And when you go door to door in your neighborhood, they start putting up signs about you. And I thought they were good at first. So I'm going around and I'm like, oh, hey, people are doing advertising for me.
Yeah.
But then it's actually like beware, wanted.
Right.
Police want to
You're knocking
investigate.
on the door. You're like, hey, prize-winning podcaster, do you want my sperm? Here, I'll get you started. First sample's free, ladies.
This is just yogurt. Oh, it is. Sorry. I can only do it so many times in a day.
I dropped my Go-Gurt.
But yeah, so like you have those big races, but this is probably like more of like, you know, they have those greyhound races and like other kinds of like dog races. They always seem super shady.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if that's what these courses are. Like these are the horses that, you know, they basically go out to some farmer who's about to put the horse down. They go out and buy like 12 of these that they're just going to put down after the race anyway. So that the ones that aren't going to make it, they just shoot up with meth. So they have a little bit of leg. Like we need some entertainment for these 100 people here that, you know, are spending money and, you know, super depressed and super depressing to look at. Like we need something to pep them up. Let's pep them up with meth.
Let's use meth.
Get your meth here.
Not all of the rulings detail the amount of the drug found in the racehorses, but 2 of the rulings say urine samples taken after the races contain levels of the drug around 0.5 nanograms per milliliter. The low level of methamphetamine in the sample and its absence in serum. The low level of methamphetamine in the sample and the absence in serum, as well as other facts presented in the case file, indicate that this positive test is a case of human contamination instead of intentional administration. The rulings all read.
So these places, do they hire like just methed out groomers?
And they're just clumsy and like they drop their rocks in the oat bag.
Well, no, I think like they're grooming the horse, and all of a sudden, like, you know, the security walks by, and you know they're a little nervous because they're methed out of their mind, like, oh shit, and put in the feed bag. You know, like 5 of them did this, and then the horse starts eating and just, you know, takes a bite of that condom that has all the meth in it, and you know almost chokes on it but gets it down.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe he's a drug mule. Here we go. He's a drug mule. He's coming in from Mexico, so he's got all these condoms of meth in his stomach. So then he's in there and he's grooming the horse, and he's thinking, hey, this is a safe, secure, you know, semi-private place. I can poop these condoms out. So he turns, because he doesn't want to look the horse in the eye when he's doing this. So he turns around and he's shatting out these condoms. Meanwhile, the horse like looks and he's like, oh, what's that? Nom, nom, nom. And then the guy turns around, he's like, no, wait.
I'm going to get fired and killed. Well, maybe, so that's one possibility. Maybe the other possibility is after he poops them out, again, security walks by or somebody, so he starts shoving them in the horse's bum. Yeah. He's like, well, it worked for me, so it should work for the horse. And then he gets kicked and knocked out, and you know the ambulance comes, and
he's a little too rough in the administration, he's a little too rough in the placement and breaks one.
Well, I don't know about you, but horses freak the shit out of me. I'm not a fan of horses.
I could go either way. I'm not super into horses, but I'm not super I'm not scared of them, but I'm completely indifferent when it comes to horses.
Yeah. Well, I think they just kind of serve their purpose because, you know, like in that instance, like being behind a horse sticking something in his rectum does not sound like a good idea whatsoever. Because, I mean, you know, they talk about people getting kicked by horses. They're never the same again, right? Like Hodor got kicked by a horse.
Yeah.
At least that's the story.
Yeah.
And he wasn't right for the rest of it. He could say one word. In my luck, I would say words like, you know.
Well, that wasn't because he got kicked by a horse. Spoilers.
Well, we learned afterwards that was the fact. But I think they always said like they thought it was because he was kicked by a horse.
Because they're like, that's totally plausible.
Yeah. I mean, you get kicked by a horse, you can only say one word for the rest of your life. And mine would probably be like boner. Boner.
Meth condom. Meth condom.
Meth condom. Meth condom.
It's unclear how the racehorses were contaminated with the drug, but Marcia Roundtree, executive director of...
Are these made up names?
Oh, I swear to God, these are real names. Marcia Roundtree, executive director of the Texas Horsemen's Partnership, said during a commission meeting August 9th The contamination levels were so low that the horses are likely being contaminated by horse grooms using the drug. Grooms
Are you
made up.
sure? Are you with these people's names? Are you sure this is horse racing or is this actually interspecies erotica? Because Martha Roundtree
Hey,
sounds
fucko.
like she sounds like a lady that might have had a little bit of horse pleasuring going on.
Hey, everything's bigger in Texas.
And what's the other dude's name? He sounds like he could have been involved too.
Charles Trout.
Yeah. Tell me that's not a porn name. These are made up names.
Grooms made up the majority of people cited by the commission for drug use violations. It was very concerning to all of us in the Horsemen's organization, and most especially the trainers whose horses were coming up positive. We became very proactive. Gary Aber, a member of the Texas Racing Commission, said during the meeting that he wanted the organization to pursue a zero-tolerance policy regarding contaminated racehorses or grooms that test positive for the drug.
So they're even going to start testing groomers.
Yeah.
Well, why don't they test everybody?
Well, no, they said they did test the groomers. They said that they tested the horses and the groomers, and then nothing happened.
Well, because think about it. So they're testing they're testing the horses because they're like, okay, we got to make sure there's no steroids. We got to make sure that they're clean. They're not breaking the rules. And they get a report back. And it's like, hey, Mr. Trout, can you look at this? This must be a misprint. Like I thought with one, it was maybe, a mistake, but there's 5 of these. There's 5 horses that tested positive for, hold on, listen to this. They tested positive for meth. Mr. Trout's like, meth? How's that even possible? And so it's like, okay, well now we got a meth problem. Our horses have a meth problem. You remember the Mr. Ed situation of the 1960s? I think we have this going on right now here in Texas.
Never again. That's what I told myself on that day.
So they start testing these horses, and then they got to test the groomers. Before you know it, this whole organization's getting tested for drugs. You look at those jockeys. They got to be high all the time.
Yeah,
you ever see them bounce around and
they're on something. They're small guys. Probably doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's just like a NASCAR driver. It's like I was going around corner one, I was just beating the shit out of that horse trying to make him go faster. I'll beat him on the right side. I thought, well, shit, I'll beat him on the left side. And you get out of the way, Junior, you motherfucker. You got my way on turn 3, son bitch.
Shake and bake.
Sir, we're live right now for the newspaper. Could you please not curse? Well, that 72 horse just was running real good today.
So Aber wanted to pursue a zero-tolerance policy regarding contaminated racehorses or grooms. He said that way, if a horse comes up positive, the horse is positive. Aber said the horse needs to be shut down. Is that code for we're gonna shoot him in the head?
At first, when he's talking to Roundhouse, he says, if that ever happens, we need to shoot the horse. She's like, wait. We've had issues with PETA before. We don't need that shit again. He's like, okay, we need to shut it down.
Is that
by lethal injection?
By shooting them in the head.
I hate these fucking animals.
Come on, they'll be used to the needle by now.
No.
Elrod said the trainers of the contaminated racehorses could have faced a 1-year suspension and a $10,000 fine, but the commission chose not to punish the owners further. You know what that is? That's a cover-up, Sean.
It's conspiracy. Yep. The owners were like, we don't know how he got it. We don't know how he got that meth. Why are you staring at me?
Jim Bloodgett, director of What?
I mean, you might as well just start saying like Peter Holmes and any other kind of porn name.
Bloddgett. Bloodgett.
Yeah,
Bloodgett.
Was it the name of his first horse in the street he was born on?
His first horse. Director of investigations at the commission said employees at racing facilities who test positive for drugs are given a mandatory 30-day suspension. They also have to receive counseling and provide a clean urine sample before they are allowed back by the stewards.
So they just start collecting like clean horse piss and start selling that.
Well, no, basically he's pissed because like they didn't really do anything to these guys. I mean, they made the horses surrender their winnings or whatever, but other than that, like that's all they did. This guy's saying they should they should be suspended and they need to receive counseling. Which now I'm picturing a bunch, like you said, I'm picturing a bunch of horses in rehab.
They're all sitting in a circle. Hi, I'm Gospel Theresa. Hi, Gospel Theresa. I've been clean for.
Oh, that's gold.
So we see that you pounded your hoof 3 times, so you've been clean for 3 days. That's great, Gospel Teresa.
Oh.
I imagine though that like they were probably having like a pretty good, like all these owners and these groomers and these horses, like they probably had like a pretty rave, like good time. You know, they take these horses down on the Mexican border, pick up all these drugs, go back to Texas, have a bender, you know, and they're like, oh, we got a race tomorrow. We're getting fucked up tonight, fucked up tomorrow. It's a weekend of meth.
Woo! So this guy thinks it's way too, he says, I think it's way too lenient. And so I would like for us to take a look at that. The suspension and the you know, horse drug rehab. I don't fucking know. Trout said the commission is working on instituting a random drug test policy for stable employees, but it is unclear when the policy will be instituted. When is it hard to? I thought you just make everybody pee in a cup. Like,
I don't know how. I mean, if you say, hey, if you want to be employed here and work for this Lone Star track / porn studio, you got to pee in a cup, you know, randomly. You know, we're going to test everybody once on this day. And from then on, once a month, we're picking 5 people randomly. And you got to pee in the cup. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I imagine it's probably easy unless like you really don't want to deal with the hassle. Because I'm sure there's a lot of like HR hassle. But all these people have to be dealing in cash, right? I mean, it's a horse track in the middle of Texas. It's not Churchill Downs. It's not. Was it Pinecrest or whatever the other big one is?
Roundtree said racehorses in several other states have been cross-contaminated with drugs before. It's not just a Texas issue. He said it's happening, no, Roundtree's the girl. It is happening everywhere, so much so that Oklahoma had to come in and actually establish a threshold for methamphetamine and caffeine because of the cross-contamination. So apparently in Oklahoma, like everybody's just doing meth and drinking Mountain Dew.
It's like, is this the feed bag or the meth bag? I don't know. Just put it on his head, see what happens.
Fuck it.
What's the word? They have strong hearts. They'll be all right.
I need coffee. You need coffee? Let's get coffee.
I'm high and caffeinated right now. It's amazing.
One other case of contamination has been reported in Texas at Gillespie County Racetrack in Fredericksburg. Other instances of contamination have occurred in California, Minnesota, Kentucky, and Australia.
I didn't know Australia had horse racing. I didn't know that was big there.
Which I don't see why. Like, why would you do horse racing in Australia? You've got so many other cooler fucking animals.
Ostrich racing? Could you imagine how awesome that would be?
Emu racing.
Emu racing, yeah. Crocodile racing, it'd be sweet. Crocodile swim meets, that'd be fantastic.
Kangaroo boxing.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if Pete would like that, though.
Probably not. Well, do you think they like horses on meth?
I mean, it's their choice. I mean, if they want to do meth, I mean, let them be. They're people too, Richard. Yeah, I would imagine any kind of racing's probably anti-PETA.
Well, Sean, we've done a lot today. We've talked about Mr. Ed, T-shirt cannons, drug cannons, horses on meth, horse rehab, horse dick.
Yeah, well, I think we've kind of hit the double trifecta of amazingness.
The Triple Crown, you mean?
Yeah, we did. We hit the Triple Crown twice in one episode. I think you said 6 things there.
I was just gonna wrap this up. I really don't know how to wrap this up, Sean. Help me.
I was gonna say, if you want to bring this to a close, Richard, why don't you give us a little bit of your Richard's closing thoughts?
No, I was saying help me with the closing thought because I'm at a loss here. We got horses on meth and guys shooting marijuana cannonballs.
Well, all I gotta say is if there's any horses out there that race that are going through some tough times, maybe it's like I always envisioned I would be at the Kentucky Derby. That was my goal. I didn't quite make it. I'm in the minors, so I'm a little depressed. So I start doing meth and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you're still a special horse. You may not be the Mr. Ed, but you are a special horse, and somebody loves you.
And you know what? It's not all that great to be Mr. Ed because look what happened to him.
Yeah, he only had 6 seasons. You've got at least 12 in you, horse. I believe it.
And the first step is admitting that you have a problem.
All right, well, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping to bring this episode to a close. Visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Check out the LOB Army Intelligence Report. We've got the 12th Level Intellect, Ian Wells Presents, and Richard's Rants. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe, and leave a review on Google Play Music, iTunes, and Stitcher.
And don't forget to check us out on the Pod Bros Network, where nobody's on meth.
The podcast site on the internet for all jockeys and groomers at horse tracks.
And nobody's on meth.
And that we know of.
Whoa.
I don't think John has any random testing.
Thank God.
He wants to institute it.
I say no because reasons.
And if you want to join our Patreon, go to www.patreon.com/languageofbromance. We're going to add a LOB ho tier so we can buy our horse. We only need $6 million.
Yeah.
All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
Do we need to give that horse meth?
No, because I will love my horse. I won't give it any drugs. It's going to be a clean horse.
Whatever. You'll give it booze.
Booze. All right. Was there anything else before I close her out?
No.
All right, well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Sean.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the beaver. Eat the beaver, Richard.